Hello Internet, welcome to Dub Theory, the only place where you can rip off someone's video style and get away with it. Now if you guys aren't aware, this Saturday marks the day that MatPat officially retires as host of Game Theory, among his other theory channels of course. Which is why today we will be honoring MatPat's time on the internet with the theory. More specifically, a Dub Theory! 2018, yep. The year of superhero movies and video games! With the likes of Spider-Man PS4, Super Smash Bros, Detroit Become Human, but most importantly, God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2. One of them winning Game of the Year for 2018, and the other being robbed. Yes, I said it once and I'll say it again, Red Dead 2 deserved that! It deserved that! Now, other than being games released in 2018, these two have a lot in common than you'd think, such as the fact that they're continuations of 7th generation titles, and of course, them both being the same game. Literally, that's the theory. That God of War and Red Dead are the same games. Now you might be thinking, but MatPat, they're two completely different video games. One of them takes place in the Wild West, while the other one takes place in the snowy mountains of Scandinavia. What gives? Settle down, my loyal theorists, because today I will be answering the questions. Today, we will be getting down to the bottom of Red of God Dead Redemption 2. Ragnarok? I don't know, I haven't thought this through. Now let's get caught up with the stories. Red Dead Redemption, if you count both of them, are the stories of a man who wants to leave their life of crime behind and pursue a life and redemption they know that they can never deserve. And of course, God of War being the story of a god who wants to leave his vengeful past behind and pursue a life and redemption he knows he can never deserve. Now, of course, there are a few differences in each of the stories, such as how Kratos ends up getting the redemption that he rightfully deserves, whereas John and Arthur, although they do get their redemptions, they also, yeah. Now let's look at the two characters of John Marston and Kratos. What do they have in common? Of course, like I said, whatever. But they're main protagonists of an old generation game, but just look at their characters. They're two grizzled heroes who journey through new lands, meeting new faces as well as old, which reminds them of their past and makes it harder to hide their true nature away from the ones that they both love. With Kratos trying to hide his old Ghost of Sparta days from his son Atreus, and John Marston trying to hide his past of being a Vanderlyn gang member from his son Jack. Now obviously, there are some differences, such as the fact that Atreus ends up finding out his godlyhood and learns to accept who he is and of course what his father had done in the past. But Jack Marston, his is a little bit different, such as the fact that he always knew that John Marston was a part of the Vanderlyn gang, as you can see him in the second game interacting with most if not all of the gang members. But it's the fact that whenever Jack is growing up, John tries to hide who he was.
You think I didn't sit up and listen to Dutch and Bill telling all those stories? You think I don't know who you are?
It ain't no secret I didn't get these scars falling over in church.
But nobody tells me anything. You and Ma pretend like nothing happened.
We just want a better life for you, son.
Now that I've got that out of the way, I just want to make some more points of how they're almost basically the same character. Both have scars on their face, they both have families, they both have died before, that's a big one, and they both contributed to the deaths of their own fathers. Granted, Kratos was a little bit more direct with his contributions to his father's death. Whereas John, well, you could easily make the argument that John and Dutch aren't even blood related. But the one thing you notice in both games is that John genuinely does see him as a father figure, as it's said that he was the one who taught him how to read and write and do everything. Throughout the game, despite the fact that John many times clearly states with confidence that he will be the one to kill Dutch, he's never able to go through with it in the end because of the fact that he still sees him as a father figure, nonetheless still contributing to his death as Dutch killed himself. If that isn't enough to convince you that John Marston and Kratos are one and the same, then maybe this will change your mind. Now you might be wondering, what about Arthur? Arthur Morgan is the main character of Red Dead Redemption 2, and that is the game that came out alongside God of War. John Marston's not the main character yet. I've been yapping about him all the time, so what gives? Well, ladies and gentlemen, do I have a theory for you? Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan seems to have a pretty big rivalry with John Marston.
Always playing some goddamn game. Me? I ain't the one taking Jack on fishing trips.
No, you ain't. If you say the boy ain't yours, what's the difference? You probably only run off again.
Why are you so interested in my life? Ain't you got one of your own?
Just do one thing or another. Not be two people at once, that's all I'm saying.
This is the reason why Arthur has such a big bone to pick with John. It's because of family. Near the end of the story, it's revealed that Arthur Morgan actually had a son of his own.
I had a son once, years ago.
Oh, what was his name?
Isaac. His mother, Eliza, was a waitress I met. When she got pregnant, she knew who I was, what my life was. I didn't want to promise nothing I couldn't keep, but I said I'd do right by them. Every few months, I'd stop by there for a few days.
What happened?
I got there one day and saw two crosses outside. I knew right away. Turned out some bastards had come through, shot him dead.
Ultimately, Arthur held a grudge against John because he had something that he wished he had of his own, and the fact that John took it for granted really bothered Arthur. Where am I going with this? Well, if John Marston is secretly Kratos, who is the equivalent to Arthur in the God of War universe? Well, let me tell you, Arthur Morgan is secretly Thor. Let me explain. They're both seen as the right-hand men of the main antagonist of each respective games. Thor holds a massive grudge against Kratos because in God of War 2018, Kratos literally massacred his two boys. It's all related to family. I'd also like to note this. In Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan contracts a deadly disease known as tuberculosis. You may be thinking, Thor never contracts any disease along those lines. Now, although it isn't tuberculosis, what if I told you that Thor did indeed go through something similar? In God of War 2018, it is revealed Thor and Jormungandr will have a great battle in Ragnarok. That Thor will send Jormungandr back in time and will of course be killed off by the venom of Jormungandr. Now, although God of War Ragnarok does this a little bit differently, during the battle between Kratos and Thor, Thor is stabbed in the stomach by Kratos' Leviathan axe. And in 2018, it is shown that if you throw the axe into the Lake of Midgard, it will be imbued with the venom of Jormungandr. And as a result, this cut remains for the rest of the game. Want to know something else that's cool? Well, let's just say that Thor isn't the only one who has a rivalry with a giant snake. Anyways, back on topic. By the end of their respective games, they both become allies of John and Kratos, putting their differences aside for the sake of their families. And of course, both being betrayed by their own fathers, Dutch Vanderland and Odin, who both also happen to be one and the same. Both master manipulators who are willing to sacrifice anyone in their way to gain the ultimate power. Now that I've given all these examples of why these characters are one and the same, you might be thinking to yourself, but MatPat, so what if they have similar character types? You could simplify something so much to make it to where two completely different characters look the same. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my closing argument. This is the thing that will make this theory 100% and in turn make you believe that Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War are one and the same.
Oh, I'm real sick, John. Lumbago.
Evidently.
It's a slow and painful death, my brother.
But that's just a theory. A dumb theory! Thanks for watching. Rest in peace, MatPat. I'm gonna miss you.